Hello, Planet Watchers. Welcome to Gemini. Hi, Mary Jane.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Christy.
Hello, hello. You've got your galactic background on.
Yeah, feeling galactic this morning. So trying to get in touch with these. Well, the planets are doing fine. Good news is the planets look really well, but the people underneath are making me a little bit crazy.
Oh,
So,
God. What's going on,
yeah,
everybody?
it's just more of the same, I've got to tell you, but we'll sort it all out this morning.
Right. We're in Gemini, which already, okay. Apologies to all my Gemini friends because I have double Gemini friends. And apologies to all my Gemini friends. I have a moon in Gemini. It makes me a little crazy. And Gemini people, I just don't necessarily understand the way they think or the way their mind works. So, yeah, I might have just like a little bit of something about Gemini. Okay. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but there we are.
Well, yeah, it's a it's a strange energy is Gemini. I've got to say, I know I've got a fairly important Gemini as well. And I've always had a little,
Gemini.
well,
Gemini.
it's in my midheaven and it's ruled on, well, my career as an astrologer. It's talked a lot about what I'm supposed to be doing in this world, but it doesn't always help me understand the people that are involved in the sun sign anyway. My recipe for coming into contact with Gemini people is to listen closely and just try to follow where they think they're going.
Okay. Yes. Right.
Which is not always where they had intended to go or even where they're going to wind up. But the trip is always interesting.
They're very interesting people.
Oh, yeah.
Hey.
Oh, yeah.
These
Yeah.
double Gemini friends and fascinating people. And they do get to their point.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they
You
do.
have to hold on.
That's true. And with the aging process, they tend to zoom in on things. The young Gemini wants to be everywhere at once, and he's going to touch on a whole lot of different things, one right after the other, and not necessarily plunge into getting, any depth. But with the aging process, this kind of settles down, and the Gemini tends to find out what's important and what is worthwhile looking into a little more, and will slow down a little bit. So that's the good news. I love you all, but you just got to keep up.
Exactly. I mean, that's true of my moon in Gemini too. It's like there are times when I'm all over the place and can't make anything like a decision. It's just like, I promise there's a point here. I promise we're getting to it.
That's about it.
Right? Okay. So what can we expect in Gemini season 2026?
Well, it looks pretty interesting. And the good news is that we're getting out of this, or at least tempering this vast collection of planets that have been hanging on and are still kind of hanging on in Aries all this time. And that was a biggie. And it took us all last month to sort of let the dust settle and to get past that ferocious, explosive kind of energy that it was, again, going off in all directions. And no good plan was decided on, at least on the world level. I think on our personal levels, too, it was very difficult to finally plug into a plan that we can carry out. Now, right now, in fact, in these last few days, Mars, who's the ruling planet then of Aries, Mars has moved into Taurus and is going to be a lot better centered, will be a lot, let's say, slower, more ponderous in making some of these decisions and some of these actions especially. That, I think, is a very good thing. And as far as the Gemini goes, the first few days, the first week, I'm going to say, of the Gemini period, that is to say from the 20th of May until, oh gosh, let's see, about the 27th or even up to the 3rd of June. The sun going over Uranus in Gemini, going over Mercury that's in Gemini these days. This is going to be, I think, the toughest period. These 10 days are going to be very complex. with a lot of different activities going on, and this certain nervousness that's been involved this last month as well. Gemini is not particularly calm anyway, and the fact of having Uranus there and the sun coming over Uranus, coming into this conjunction, it's as though there's a huge need to make some violent decisions immediately without necessarily thinking through the entire process. I think this is going to be true on a world level. I think it's going to be true on a personal level. And I want to just say to everyone out there, if you have important decisions to make, put them in your pocket overnight, get to them in the morning, and things will generally tend to seem easier for you and much more logical. Don't be too excited to get everything done immediately. It's too bad. However, there are some good things coming up. Pluto, for one, has gone retrograde now and will be in retrograde until mid-October. So he's kind of out of the picture for a little while. Although there's a tendency with Pluto, and especially with some very nice aspects that he's making with other slow planets, that gives us a very nice, I want to say, even keel to some of the energies that are being decided. But this retrograde action of Pluto sends him back looking at former glory. He's looking back at that incredible time when he was so heavy and so important in Capricorn these last few months ago, and is thinking, wow, I can do it again, And so he's leading this parade of much gloating and much muscle flexing, and not necessarily a very good idea as far as getting some forward moving action in the various war scenes that we've got going on in the world. So it's going to be, I think these planets, these heavy planets, are trying hard to tell us to get real, get impersonal, look at the big picture, look at what we're doing to this world and to our various civilizations. But now we've got some personalities coming in with the sun going over Uranus. Again, it boils down basically to the personalities that are involved behind this massive energy. And that is the big question mark. That is the loose cannon in this whole schema that looks so good in the sky. We're going to see with the connections of Pluto to Neptune, to Uranus, a lovely pattern, but it seems to indicate in these signs in the air and fire signs, again, a changing attitude toward war and toward warfare. We're going to see at the same time a lot of peace talks and a lot of propaganda and a lot of recognition of discussions going on and so on. But basically, nothing is being decided. And we're going to see, I think, an impetus in new technology and software attack, cyber attacks all over. And with the question of Neptune, there's always the possibility of turning towards some sort of chemical or biological warfare. So yes, the energy is wonderful, and it seems to be very badly used at present. That's kind of where I am with that.
Okay, that's a really good point. We can have this fantastic sky, we can have this great energy, but it's kind of like we have our light side and our shadow side, right? The shadow side of anything is going to be, how you misuse the energy that you've got.
Precisely. And doesn't it always come down to history with a small h, It comes down to the personalities involved. It comes down to what kind of thinking is going on in each camp. It's not just one camp, that's the good camp. It seems as though all over the world, our major functional people are on this incredible ego trip. And it's really each one for himself at present. And this is a tendency that I think is going to be nasty this month and getting in the way of some sort of logical negotiations for
Right. There's an article very recently in The Atlantic talking about these mega, mega rich people, the Jeff Bezos class and the Epstein class, that, you get so much money you kind of get to the point where it's like, all right, I'm done. I have no accountability. Nobody's going to stop me doing anything.
Sure.
I can do
Sure.
whatever I want. Right. And that's a bad
Pluto looking backward as well. Yeah. And we're going
thing.
to see this. We're going to see this.
Oh, I feel like we're already seeing it, Mary Jane, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it's true. It's true. I'm afraid you're right.
But then where's the tipping point for the rest of us? Right. We're standing here witnessing this going on. When do we say enough is enough? Is that coming up?
For the moment, I've talked a few weeks now about this Jupiter, which is still in Cancer right now, and Venus is joining Jupiter this month in Cancer. We've got some other traffic going on there. But one thing that Jupiter in Cancer reminds us is that the people have power. Cancer is the sign of a movement of mass. This is the moon going through it with this in mind these days, is showing us a mass movement. It's important, I think, now to recognize the power of the masses, of people getting down. I look around and I see these demonstrations that are getting bigger and bigger, louder and louder, and more universal with a single movement, with a single idea in mind. Quit these stupid wars. And I think this is going to be ultimately important. I think with this in mind, this month is difficult because this same wonderful Jupiter position is in very awkward aspect with Mercury, for instance, also with Neptune and Pallas Athena, Saturn as well. So it's not in its most potent way of making some important decisions or helping make some important decisions. We'll see this again in another subject I wanted to touch on. So all of this to say that we may need to wait another month, but we can't afford really to give up the fight now. We've got to stay noisy. We've got to stay present. And if it looks initially like we're not getting much done, give it a wait. The numbers are important. They're very important.
I agree. Yeah.
We're going to see, I'll hit on this Jupiter, who's important also right now, with the question of Neptune and Saturn that are also square to our friend Hygeia. Hygeia is this asteroid that talks a lot about our health conditions. And on a worldwide level, I think we must remind ourselves to take the hantavirus and this new Ebola virus presence very seriously.
Ebola? Really?
Yes, I really think so. There will be new legislation. There are new protocols handling these, to trying to contain these viruses. But it's going to take time again to make sure that the new protocols are working. We've got to find new vaccines. And I would, again, recommend getting involved if you're the least bit tied up with travel with large animals, because it seems as though these various viruses are coming to us from contact with animals. If you're involved with animal fairs or other places where animals are in markets or whatever, please get your vaccines as soon as they come out. It's going to be important. And I think Ebola can be contained, but we don't know anything about this other one. So just saying that, yeah, the sky is not helping right now.
I know. I had a recent health weirdness happen, and several of the people around me were saying, hantavirus? And I even Googled it. Is hantavirus in Kansas City? No, it wasn't. But it's interesting that our minds all went there.
Yes, and I'm not at all worried about too much publicity, too much information going on around these viruses. Certain industries would love to make this into a scare tactic. No, there's no problem. No, we don't need to worry about this. No, animals are not important in the question and in the equation. Let's not take chances. Let's go to the source of good information and follow the rules if any come up, because I think it's going to be that important. The signs in the sky are saying, don't mess around with this. And I'd kind of like to listen to those signs myself,
Mm-hmm.
especially as my friend Jupiter that I was just talking about is also square to Chiron these days, so that medicine as a source of information, as a source of analysis and creation of vaccines and so on, is stymied for the moment and until well into May and past the middle of June. So their hands are tied. It's going to be difficult for the analyses people to get us any good help. We're going to just have to take care of ourselves. The same is true while we're here with Jupiter, that he seems to be blocking legal actions, court actions, court dates, and also may be involved in falsifying elections around us. So this Jupiter is just not totally performant, even in this very healthy position in Cancer. For the moment, he's got serious communications problems.
Yeah. Well, always.
Always, as you say. I come back to these first days, the 20th, 21st of May, the Sun and Uranus are having trouble with Mercury. So we're going to see a lot of flexing of muscles, a lot of very noisy talk coming from our politicians and from world leaders, but basically very little positive action being taken. So that's that. There are some good days. Now, let me just point out, I come back to my famous, lovely trine coming from Pluto and from Neptune, from Saturn, from Uranus. It's beautiful. And on the 25th, 26th of May, the moon is making a beautiful kite formation with these planets, the moon serving as the tail end of this kite. It's all happening in air and fire. It's going to be an excellent time on all levels for us, for them to be involved in negotiations, in peaceful discussions, great for signing contracts for us. Interviews are wonderful if you're looking for that job. This is an excellent time to be involved with people who are looking for new talent. However, the moon is also in a square to Venus and opposite to Neptune at that same period. So this is less good, maybe romantically. This is not a good marriage date. It's not even a good engagement date. Not even a very good new date. Romantically, and also for treating money, for any buying and selling, moving investments around and so on. Not the best. So there are two sides, of course, in any good discussion. At the same time, this date, it looks heavy. The 25th and the 26th of May, Mars, one of my favorite planets, is in a nasty little attitude with Mercury and also is squared to this famous Pluto. So I want you to be very careful walking and talking. I'll just boil it down to you. Watch what you're saying. Watch where you're putting your feet. Watch how you're driving. Be careful out there. This is a rough time just to be moving and communicating.
So it's good time to stay home, covers over your head.
Rather. Or, take a nice calm walk around the block with your dog or whatever you need to do. But for heaven's sake, watch where you're putting your feet.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's always going to be true. But yeah, I've noticed there are certain times where it's just like, why am I so clumsy right now?
For
Right?
sure.
Just like this whole weekday, whatever, it's just, I can't help but hurt myself.
Oh, man. And at the same time, I'm talking about Mars, but also to get back to Jupiter. Jupiter is also in charge of decision making. And this boils down to something as stupid as where I'm putting my feet, really literally. This is a
Yeah.
time when we're not making good decisions. And this can touch on muscular information as well. So I like to say, just be careful where you're going. It's no big deal. And how you're driving, and look out for the other guy too, and whatever we can do to be careful walking and talking.
Mm. So what about like special type of astrological events during this period? Any special? Yeah, yeah. Okay. You
It's
got
calm. Yeah. For that, we have no eclipses. We have no retrograde
oh,
planets except Pluto. We have no really major things going on, except for the conversations between us, the fast planets, and the slower planets that are a little bit hairy. I didn't talk about the famous, while we're on Jupiter in this conjunction with Venus, which is lovely to see usually, but it's squared to Chiron. And I think from the 29th until up to the 15th of June, maybe, this is not only a period of discussion that kind of go pear-shaped, but it also seems to mark a separation, divorce. There's a very nasty moon on the 2nd and 3rd of June, and again on the 9th and 10th of June. So I want to say, keep your anger level down. There are discussions to have, I'm sure, but if you think of these exchanges happening on a friendly basis, you're going to get a lot done more quietly and probably more peacefully for everyone concerned. This said, if you're looking to quit that job, it's probably now. It's probably a very good time to sever relationships that look toxic, that look not healthy for you, or seem to be without a future.
so, I've been hearing not just from you, but from a variety of sources about how the current conjunctions and the conjunctions over the summer are akin to our revolutionary period.
Mm.
As we lead into our 250th anniversary, how is that looking?
I think that's going to be interesting as we see the 4th of July coming up and planets that will be entering into Gemini and into finally Cancer, accompanying Jupiter there, which is maybe the good news. I think we'll definitely be in a period to see things warming up considerably. Some of these, especially the little asteroids that typically we don't know much about and don't know quite how to handle them, except Chiron, are staying where they are in Aries. And by the time we get up to this famous birthday, the 4th of July, they'll be making a very nice square. The rapid planets and the sun will be making a very nice square to this energy that's excitable. Sounds like fireworks to me. And I think we'll just have to see. We'll have to see what the people are wanting. Again, I'm coming back to this period of Cancer that involves the voice of the people, the voice of the masses, mass movement. And there, I think this period is going to be maybe particularly noisy, but it could also be particularly advantageous to some sort of forward going positive movement for change. I think we'll see that.
Okay, that is really what I'm feeling as well. But, with these energies and with all the stuff that's going on, it often seems out of reach.
I know. And it seems difficult for us now. Jupiter is a little bit tongue tied at present, and Jupiter that represents law and order in a certain way, legislation, also court dates and judgments that come down. So when the hands are tied and there doesn't seem to be any positive movement, any forward moving movement, why we can get very discouraged. I don't think this is a permanent situation. I think this June and July are going to be particularly important in these questions, but I think we should keep things relative, keep things in a long term, in a long view, and not be too discouraged about these slow periods, sort of the bottom of the wave. The wave is there, and we have to keep this wave moving.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I was recently having not really a debate, but a discussion with someone on Facebook who was feeling rather attacked when I said, we all have to pull together. It's great to say that economic boycotts are helpful, which they are, but we have to like do more. We have to do more. And they felt that was kind of a personal attack. They're not doing enough. And that's
No,
not
no,
it
no,
at all. No, but
no, no.
it's go time is really what I was trying to say.
That's
It's
it.
go time. The time for talking about it, wishing, thinking about it, that was like last year, right?
This said, I had a wonderful weekend recently. Been involved with Amnesty International for a few years now. And we had a wonderful visit from an activist and another fellow who's extremely active in Amnesty and also in the gay movement in Hungary.
Oh,
And he was extremely active in the election that took down Viktor Orban. He was talking about the power of amnesty that had taken such part in the local demonstrations and so on. But his message was so wonderful. He said, don't attack, don't criticize, don't denigrate what people are or aren't doing for the cause. Make it fun. Make it fun. Make it sexy to be involved in positive movement, in positive action. And this made such sense, really. Instead of making people feel, in fact, attacked or feel as though they're guilty, no, invite them in, find the touch that's going to bring them into your thinking instead of blocking their thinking. And yeah, it just made infinite good sense. And this fellow, who was brilliant, had such success, in fact, with his activities in this huge election that, in fact, just went on in Hungary. So it was a lesson for all of us, actually. Make it fun, make it sexy, make it the right thing to do to jump on the peaceful bandwagon.
the peace train.
The peace train, yeah, comes back to it, doesn't it?
And this is why there are groups coming out to sing for peace. And
Apparently, yeah.
right? They're singing for peace. People are dressing up in inflatable unicorn costumes, and inflatable frog costumes out to protest. This is back in the 60s when there was some iconic photograph of a young hippie putting daisies in rifles that were pointed at her,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Peace and love, it sounds really corny, and a little too easy, but it can be very effective. You can take the wind right out of a hate monger's sails if you're just saying, does this make any sense to you?
Right. Would this really make any sense to you? Explain it to me because it doesn't make any sense to me. Okay. All right. There's always hope. There is hope. There's always
sure.
hope because there is love
sure.
and there is always love. Always.
I think we have to zero in on that fact and keep it close to heart. Keep it close to heart.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, we've done it once again. We have talked about all the energy that's fit to print coming up in the next season. And, as always, we want to harness whatever energy is coming up for our own best and personal good, right?
Sure.
It's not a selfish thing at all. It's just maximizing what we've got when we can. So,
Precisely. It's finding our place in this universe, finding our place in this wave. It's surfing. It's you either fall off your board because you're going against the wrong wall, or you jump on the wave and ride it out. And that's what we like to do. It's what I like to see with applying these energies that are available to all of us to our personal charts. If you haven't looked at your astrological chart, it might be an interesting exercise for you in order to know how to use all these energies we're talking about, or how to work around them, or how to get over them, or at least understand what's going on. This makes it all extremely personal and extremely useful.
How do you do that, Mary Jane? How do we do that? Go to radiatewellnesscommunity.com.
Right. And come to me, sign up for a study of your natal chart,
Right.
wherever. It'll take a little while, but we can do it. And then we'll talk until the world looks level.
Right. So go to radiatewellnesscommunity.com/appointment or just find the appointment tab. And then you sign up for a session with Mary Jane and select natal chart. Mary Jane will draw up your natal chart, but you do have to put in some information. You need to put in your place of birth, date of birth, and preferably time of birth if you have it. And then allow at least a week for the appointment to take place. But then when it takes place, Mary Jane will sit down with you and go over your natal chart and tell you, things to watch out for, things that are going to be pertinent for you, right? Did I get that right, Mary Jane?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, yeah. So we'll see you, Planet Watchers, again in Cancer when I kind of feel like the excrement's going to hit the ventilator.
But politely.
I kind of feel like things are coming to a head and maybe we might see that before we go, Google or not, how long do empires last? So that's all I'm going to say about that. Very, very interesting. So see you again in Cancer, friends.
Right.
Right?
Be careful. Have fun.